Hi, I'm Yuki and I'm from Japan, and today I'm here to talk about my first book review on YouTube. But before I begin, I want to briefly introduce my booktube channel. The reason I've always wanted to make my own booktube channel is, firstly, I want to talk about books, and secondly, I want to practice speaking in English. So apologies in advance that I make lots of mistakes, but I'm hoping that at least you can understand what I'm saying. So, let's move on to the actual book. The book I'm going to talk about today is The Catcher in the Rye by J D Salinger. Today I'm going to talk about the character and the title, just in case you haven't read this book. This is a story about a teenage boy called Holden, and it's narrated by the protagonist himself. And the book begins with him being kicked out of school because he fails exams. And he starts to wander in New York until he goes back to his home. In terms of the character, Holden, the protagonist, is very interesting, and I think he is a little bit strange because although he fails most subjects at the exam, it doesn't mean he's totally indifferent of education. He may be not interested in education itself, but for example, he loves reading. He reads stuff like Thomas Hardy, and also he is in such an unstable state that his mind constantly changes. I think that's part of what makes this story a little bit realistic, and he seems to be always conflicted between the innocence of childhood and the fact that he's going to be someday an adult when all he sees outside is the funniness of adulthood. But the interesting thing is in this story is that although Holden keeps complaining about those who are conceited or phony, there are a few scenes that I kind of doubted that he may be being on the conceited adult side, if that makes sense. And I think that shows how unstable his mind is. And moving on to the title, I find it very fascinating because as soon as you see it, you'd think, who is the catcher? Or what does that mean? And also, it's a little bit interesting. A little bit kind of funny that the Japanese translation of the title means something like "catch me in the rye." What do you think? But I completely understand how difficult it would be to literally translate it into Japanese, simply because English and Japanese they don't have the same grammar system. I'm sorry, I'm getting off the point. It's said that a catcher is, in other words, a protector of the innocence of children. To me, the word catcher seems to be a little bit kind of vague or abstract because there isn't no such profession or position as a catcher unless you're talking about playing baseball or something like that. So what I wanted to say by mentioning the title is, instead of thinking of Holden as an individual person, to me it makes more sense to think of him as some kind of concept that is protection of childhood's innocence. Does that make sense? I don't think it makes sense. I'm very confused with my own opinion, which is weird. I'm sorry my first video isn't very good, but it'd be great if you could leave me comments in the comment section down below. And see you next time. Bye.